Okay, so you have a new piece and you are so ready to learn, you're excited about it, and then you get started and you're just not seeing as much progress as you were hoping for. And you start to feel a bit frustrated, and then eventually you get disappointed and you just think, where is that progress and why am I such a bad harpist? And you start thinking, maybe the problem is that I just am not practicing enough. I hear this over email a lot. People say, well, if I had more time to practice, then maybe I'd see that progress. Or if you're already spending a lot of time practicing, then you're thinking, well, maybe it's just because I'm starting when I'm a bit older, maybe my brain is a bit slow, or I have bad memory, or I'm just not that talented. And maybe you're thinking that those are the reasons why your pieces are taking forever to learn. But from my experience with my students, there are 5 reasons that are actually more likely to be the reasons why your pieces are taking forever to learn. So this is good news because we have some solutions for this today. And I'm going to be taking you through those 5 reasons and talking about solutions that you can implement right away. But I'm also going to suggest reasons why it might be helpful to get my video lessons, because those have been specifically designed to help with these 5 problems of why your pieces are taking so long to learn. So let's get into it, and these are the 5 reasons. And while I'm going through it, put in the comments down below if you resonate with any of these, if they seem like this is a reason that is my problem, then put it down in the comments. I'd love to hear that from you. And let's get started. Reason number 1. So you're so busy concentrating on the new notes of a piece that you can't maintain your technique. And then the problem is your brain can't hold everything together. So you've got the new notes and then you're trying to remember thumbs up or placing all together, and you just can't do it all. And because your technique is not being implemented properly, you then can't play smoothly. So what are the solutions that we can deal with this problem? First suggestion I have is to make a list of all the things about your technique that you know that you need to implement. So whether it's your positioning, so you say check in with thumbs up, fingers down, wrists down in neutral, elbows away from your body, you've got to sit up straight, shoulders down, or maybe it's something like placing all fingers together, something checking your bracketing, those type of things. You make a list, and then throughout the piece as you're learning, you do it in small sections, and then you check in with your list and you double check everything about your technique as you're going through it. So that's one solution. Another thing you could do is, if you have a teacher, you record your lesson with her or him, and then when you are practicing, you can actually watch over that lesson. And the great thing about that is, whatever technique problems you had during your lesson, your teacher would have said, okay, remember thumbs up, or remember to move your elbows away from your body. And as you're practicing, you'll hear those same things and you'll be able to implement them again, because you'll find you actually make the same mistakes during your practice as you did in your lessons. And then another idea, and actually this is, I think, the easiest way to get these reminders, is from my video lessons, because they've been specially designed to help with reminding you about your technique. So Anne Carpin said, the video lessons are helping to consolidate placing and good hand position, while at the same time not sounding like a boring exercise. So you get to learn a piece and have the reminders happening all at the same time. And Susan Gallagher said, even though I saw sitting and hand position videos on YouTube, as soon as I started playing, I forgot. So hence the need to keep being reminded. All right, so that's reason number 1. Reason number 2 of why your pieces are taking so long to learn is that you're trying to put your hands together in wrong ways. Okay, that sounds quite a statement, wrong ways. So what are those wrong ways? The one could be that you're trying to learn the whole piece with just the one hand and get that perfect, and then learn the whole piece with just the other hand and get that absolutely perfect, and then you're only trying to put them together. That's not a really good way, because then what happens is you don't want to go slow enough to get the 2 hands together, and your brain has programmed it into being just one hand, and it's just really hard to put them together after that. Another wrong way is if you've tried to play the whole thing with hands together right from the beginning and you never break it down and actually make sure that you're doing it correctly with each hand. Another wrong way is, this is quite an extreme one, but I've heard somebody saying this over email, that they tried to memorize one hand, the right hand, and then play that from memory while sight reading the left hand at the same time. Now that is expecting way too much of your brain. I don't think I would be able to do that. So I don't think those are the most helpful ways. I suggest what you do instead is make sure firstly that it's an easy piece. If you struggle with putting hands together, make sure you're choosing a piece where there's very little happening in the left hand so that you can get used to playing hands together with something simple first. And then break it down into very small sections. Sometimes you could be working on even just 3 notes or like less than 1 measure at a time and putting it together really slowly with the 2 hands together and just going through it note by note. And then the other thing is you mustn't wait until each hand is perfect before you combine them together. So you will spend a little bit of time on one hand and then a little bit of time on the other hand, and then you put them together in a small section quite soon so that your brain can get used to playing the 2 together. So this is something that, and then you do it really slowly when you combine them. So this is something that I've done really in detail in my video lessons. So this would be the easiest way for you to experience this way of putting hands together. Marcus Faller, he said that after using my video lessons, he could play with his hands together for the first time. He said the secret is to learn only small parts of a piece. So that was an amazing breakthrough, and maybe that could happen for you too if putting hands together is a struggle for you. Okay, reason number 3 of why your pieces are taking forever to learn. Your sheet music reading is so slow, you never flow. Do you like my little rhyme? Or maybe you struggle with reading the bass clef. So I've heard a lot of people who struggle with sheet music in general, or with just the bass clef in particular, because maybe they were a flautist before or something like that. So what happens here is you concentrate so much on reading the notes from the sheet music that it takes up your brain space, and then you can't concentrate on actually playing smoothly. So you're just working out the notes. That's the only thing you can figure out. Or for other people, the problem could be that just from looking at the sheet music, you can't understand the rhythm or what it's meant to sound like. And you really need to hear a demo of somebody playing it slowly so that you can copy that. Or for other people, the problem is coming from looking at the sheet music and then trying to translate that into the harp. There's a bit of a disconnect of knowing where those notes are on the harp. So what can you do about this? I think when it comes to reading sheet music, I often suggest that people use sheet music apps. So I've got a page of resources where you can, I think there's a video about that you can check on my channel. But I also found that there can still be a bit of a disconnect when you're actually playing it on the harp then. So one thing I've noticed that when I did see some progress in this with one of my students is when she just spent a lot of time reading through super easy pieces and just going through lots and lots of pieces. And it doesn't even have to be harp pieces. It can just be simple piano music that you find on the internet. And I suggested to her that you just pluck with one finger, so you don't, like your index finger in each hand, so that you don't have to concentrate on fingering or technique or anything like that. You're just going to spend a lot of time reading through simple pieces. And she saw some amazing progress from that. And then, of course, if you want this to happen all in one place very easily, this is part of what my video lessons have been designed for. So we have a quote here from Peter. He said, as a beginner, it's very helpful to have the video of the music being played so that I can hear what it should sound like. So you can actually hear that demo, because he found getting the rhythm right without that is tricky. You can hear it, and you can, if you buy the sheet music, you can see it at the same time. And then I also demonstrate it on the harp so you can actually see where it is. And I call out the note names as well. So all of that works together to mean that if you struggle with reading sheet music, you can learn it from my video lesson without sheet music at all. So just to check in with you, make sure you're putting it down in the comments if you identify with any of these reasons. So far we've talked about maintaining technique, struggling to put hands together, and struggling with reading sheet music. Let's move on to question number 4. So maybe the problem is that you are practicing shallowly instead of deeply. I think this is probably the biggest reason. You don't know how to practice deeply and effectively. So maybe for you this looks like you're playing through the whole piece and you're not really repeating any sections. Or maybe if you are repeating sections over and over, we call that chunking. So I have a video about that. But maybe if you are repeating, you're not taking small enough sections. I think sometimes people don't realize how small the section needs to be. Or if you are repeating small sections, maybe you're not repeating it enough times. You really need to repeat it like so many times for it to come smoothly, and that's what deep practicing looks like. Or maybe another challenge could be that you're moving on from the piece too quickly and before you've actually perfected it, or you're trying to learn too many pieces at a time. I know people get very excited about new sheet music. Maybe you've got like 10 different sheet music that you're so excited about, so in your practice session, instead of deeply practicing one piece, you're playing through 10 different pieces, and then you're not seeing progress. That could be why. So here's some solutions for you. I'm just going to take a sip first. Here's a solution. Basically, you need to knuckle down and practice effectively. It's hard work, but it has to be done if you want to see this progress. So you need to do your chunking in very small chunks, maybe even just 2 notes at a time. You need to repeat it until it's second nature, like you feel like you could do it in your sleep. That's how many times you need to repeat it. And then you also, as you are doing this deep practice, you need to monitor your emotions. So we often find ourselves saying these, we've spoken about toxic thoughts before on my channel, where you say to yourself, why am I having to do this so many times? And you feel like it's just because you're stupid or you're a slow learner, and then you want to move on because you don't want to feel like you're bad. But this way of practicing really deeply, that's how the professionals do it. That's the way you practice properly. It's not just you, and it's not an indication that you're slow. It's an indication that you are thorough and that you're going to get the results that you're looking for. So I think that's an encouragement for you. You need to practice deeply, and it's not a bad reflection on you. And then cycling back to rework things is also very important. So once you've gone through your whole piece deeply, you'll find later on that you find that some mistakes pop up again, and you have to go back and focus in on that small section again. And it's going to happen again and again. You have to go through this cycle of repeating your practice deeply. And then another thing is to just choose 1 or 2 or maybe even maximum 3 pieces that you're working on at a time. And today, tomorrow, the next day, you're still just working on those 2 pieces, or maybe even 1 piece if you really want to see progress, rather than going through 10 pieces every day. And so how does this help in my video lessons? They've been specially designed for this. What I'm doing is I'm taking you through that process of deep practice so that you can actually learn what it feels like, and you can get the results all at the same time. So Tammy from Michigan says, I'm impatient because I want to hear songs and probably don't spend enough time really playing each song without some mistakes before wanting to try another. And then Nancy said, my biggest challenge is staying focused. The video lesson really helped with that. So you don't have to do the brain power yourself of figuring out this process of deep practice. I take you through it, and I've done all the thinking for you. And then Barbara Mitchell says, I love that I can go back as many times as needed to practice a particular section, because you get an index page where you can check the timestamps and go back to that particular part of the piece. Like maybe you want to check the left-hand part of measure 4. You can go back to that and go through it later. So reason number 5, the last reason of why your pieces are taking forever to learn. You are feeling overwhelmed and discouraged, and then you stop. This is tragic. This is one of the big reasons why I do what I do online with encouraging people in their harp playing, because I don't want you to feel discouraged. I want you to have all the encouragement and the information that you need. So what happens is this kind of deep practice is really difficult, and you have to be disciplined, and it's hard work. And so it can be really discouraging. You thought that it would be fun and easy to play the harp. You thought it would just be a joyful, peaceful process. But it also takes some hard work along the way. And sometimes you need a push to encourage you to try again. So we can get into this negative cycle where practicing is hard and you just don't feel like it. So then you avoid practicing, and then you feel guilty about not practicing. And then you don't want to practice because you've got these guilty feelings. Have any of you felt that cycle, that negative cycle? It happened to me in the past with practicing the violin. And so we want to avoid that cycle. And so what are some of the solutions you can do if you're experiencing that? I suggest that you train your family to say encouraging things to you when you're practicing your harp. So how awesome would it be if you're busy practicing and then your husband walks past and just says, "Keep going, honey, you can do it." Or maybe your daughter's gonna open the door and pop in her head and say, "Go, Mom, go." I think that would be really great. So I would love to hear from some of you if you can train your family to encourage you. And then another thing you can do is intentionally choose an encouraging harp teacher, whether it's lessons in person or over Skype. Choose somebody who's going to encourage you and tell you that you're doing a good job so that you can keep going even when it's difficult. And then another thing is connecting with harpist friends, maybe at a harp circle, maybe just meeting up with friends or giving them a call. You can also find harp friends online through social media, and you can encourage each other when times get hard. And then one more suggestion that you can just easily implement in your practice session right now. Oh, two more actually. One is to write some positive, encouraging little notes on Post-its and pop them around you, like on the wall, maybe even one on your harp saying, "You can do it," or "It's not a race." Think of how far you've already come, and then you can read those and feel encouraged. Or another idea, this is quite a creative one. You can make some voice notes on your phone of people telling you encouraging things. So you can go to a friend and say, "When I'm feeling down with my harp playing, can't you just tell me something encouraging?" Then you click record on the voice note recorder on your phone, and your friend will just say, "You can do it. I'm so proud of you, and it's so amazing how you're trying so hard with your harp playing, and even if it's hard, it's still worth it." And then if you can save that on your phone, you can come back to it when you're feeling discouraged, and you'll hear that friend's voice, and you'll be able to feel encouraged again. And then, of course, lastly, my video lessons have been designed to encourage you in this way. So throughout the video lessons, I say encouraging things, and it will be effective even though it's not in real time. It's quite surprising. So Catherine said it's a slow and lonely journey, so it's good to be supported by a real harpist. And Katerina, she tried it and she said, "Your encouragement and psychological approach are just what I appreciate and need." So good. I'm really glad it's helping people. And Sher Anderson said, "Even if I let days pass without practice, you are right there waiting for me, encouraging me and showing me how to play the piece. I have made more progress with your video these last weeks than any previous instruction I have had." Oh, that's so good. I'm so glad that it's really helping people and that they're getting the results they need. Okay, so those are our 5 reasons. And now make sure you put in the comments if any of these are resonating with you, or if you have some more creative ideas of solutions that will help with these 5 problems. And which one is the main problem for you? I'd also like to hear that. So let's talk a little bit more about these video lessons I've been mentioning, because now that you've heard how it helps solve those 5 problems, you're probably thinking, "I just need to get these, it's going to solve everything, and it's going to be so helpful in my harp journey." And so here's a bit more info for you. So the video lessons are guided practice. I'm there with you going through the whole thing. It's not just telling you what to practice, but we actually do it together in the video lesson. And it's step by step, going through the pieces, note by note. I'm telling you what to play. I'm reminding you about your technique, encouraging you along the way. And then you have the ability to go back and use the index page, which will tell you what timestamp to go to, and you go back and look at things as many times as you need to and just practice those sections that need a bit more work. And at the end, your piece will flow. And you'll actually find that it's the fastest way to learn, because sometimes what happens is you practice too quickly and then you don't get the results. With the video lessons, it will take you slowly through practicing deep practice in detail, and you'll get results much quicker. So that's really awesome. I think it's really going to help you. So we've just released 3 new video lessons, and there's 3 that I already released previously. So I'm going to tell you what the songs are now. This is a big announcement because I haven't told you on the channel yet what the new video lessons are. Amazing Grace, a super simple arrangement for beginner harp. I've made it as simple as possible. There's just like one note happening in the left hand so that even the most beginner harpist will manage. Then This Is My Father's World, also a beautiful hymn, and it's just really special to people when they learned that hymn in their childhood, and that's at a late beginner level. And then Awe and Wonder is also a late beginner level, maybe even early intermediate. It's a bit more complex, and that's an original piece that I wrote with a lot of flowing arpeggios, and it's just to talk about how amazing God is. So they're all on the theme of hymns this time. And the 3 video lessons that we released before that is After the Rain, an original harp piece for very basic beginner harp. Mahogany Moon, that's a little more complex and quite interesting with a bit of a minor sound and a bit haunting. And then O Come Emmanuel, that amazing Christmas song. And those ones are also still available. So there's a link in the cards and also a link down in the description box, and you can purchase the video lessons right now. And if you want to find out more information, you can also go to that link and read more. And this is really the next step you need to take if you want to see progress in pieces and really seeing that you get to that point of flow. If you really care about playing joyfully and being able to play through pieces without stopping and starting, I think this is the most effective thing for you. So if that sounds like something that's right for you, then make sure you buy them now. And for those who are watching this just after the video has been released, the most recent ones, Awe and Wonder, Amazing Grace, and This Is My Father's World, are now available at an early bird price until next week, Wednesday, the 27th of March. So make sure you get them now because they're never going to be at such a good price again.